All right, let's get into a classic great series. So we're at 1987. And I know I've had a couple of days off from this series, but let's get back into it with Calgary and Winnipeg. These teams are scheduled to meet each other in the play-in round this year, with one of them making the playoffs and the other one will sit at home and watch the other one play the 16-game tournament that we may very well see this summer during August into September, October, and so on. Now, this was a series where the Flames had home ice. 46-31-3. 318 goals scored, which was second overall. 289 goals against, which was 11th. The Winnipeg Jets, 40-32-8 overall. 279 goals for, which was 17th. And 271 goals against, which is 4th. And they would go on from this series to get swept in round 2 by the Edmonton Oilers. Which, to be fair to the Winnipeg Jets, is a fate that many teams suffered in the mid-'80s. But it was frustrating for Winnipeg because for them, in 85 and 87, they had pretty good seasons. But they weren't in the Norris, so they didn't get to go very far. Now, in round 1 in 1985 between these teams, Jamie McCowan cross-checks Dale Hawerchuk, a play that to this day Winnipeg Jets fans will talk about. And this was a series that had its share of physicality, but not a lot involving McCowan. He had 1 point in 3 games. He was a -2 and had 8 penalty minutes. So the McCowan thing, as much as it was a point of bone of contention for Winnipeg fans, and likely for the team itself, didn't really factor into this series. So we go into game 1. It's in Calgary. And to start the scoring in the first period is Thomas Steen at 5 minutes and 3 seconds. But Calgary fights back on the power play. First, it's Bullard scoring from Nieuwendyk and Eloranta at 13:02. Then it's another power play marker. It's McInnes from Reinhart and McCowan at 19:26. So late in the first period, Calgary takes a 2-1 lead. Second period, Dale Hawerchuk ties it from Kite and Duncan at 7:51. And then a minute and a second later, it's Mario Marois from Wilson and Kite at 8:52. So Winnipeg, 3-2, or they have a lead of 3-2 going to the third period, and they add to it early in the third. Power play goal is Dale Hawerchuk from Marois and Carlisle at 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Bandit Berthiaume, 18 saves on 20 shots. Reggie Lemola, 26 saves on 30 shots at the other end of the ice. So there you go, Winnipeg with a 1-0 series lead. Calgary has to fight back. Game 2 in Calgary. First period, no scoring. Second period, Bullard gets the scoring started from Hawk and Lube at 2:35. That's on the power play. Winnipeg would tie it. It's McLean from Hawerchuk at 7:08, and then Paul McLean adds another from Hawerchuk and Barry at 15:24. The Flames tie it. Bullard from Eloranta and Suter at 17:59, but with 1 second left in the second period, Thomas Steen scores shorthanded from Randy Carlisle at 19:59. That makes it 3-2 for the Jets. All of the scoring in the second, no scoring in the third. Berthiaume, 25 saves on 27 shots in the victory for Winnipeg. Mike Vernon, 22 saves on 25 shots in the loss. So they switched goalies, and it didn't help. Game 3, Vernon stays in the net. We're in Winnipeg. Can a team win at home? The answer is not yet. It's Randy Carlisle scoring from Boschman, though, in the first to make it 1-0 for Winnipeg, and then they score again. It's Paul McLean scoring from Ellett at 13:19. But the Flames come back. It's Steve Bozek from Lube and Risebrough at 14:27, and then in the last minute of the first period, it is a power play goal. It's Joey Mullen from Bullard and Nieuwendyk at 19:29. So it's 2-2 after 1, it's 2-2 after 2, and 2-2 after 3 as well. So in the overtime, 3 minutes and 53 seconds in on the power play, it's Joe Mullen from Bullard and Nieuwendyk, and the Flames are back in the series with their first win against the 2 losses. Vernon saves 26 out of 28. Daniel Berthiaume saves 31 out of 34. And we go to game 4 in Winnipeg. And this is where home ice matters. Hawk and Lube, though, he makes you think it won't. He scores from Perry Berzan at 17:35 at the first. It's 1-0 Calgary after 1. Second period, Calgary gets another one. It's Brett Hull scoring for the Flames from Bullard and Patterson at 5:03. Easy to forget Brett Hull started out as Calgary property, isn't it? Unless you're a Flames fan. Power play goal then by Brian Mullen from Hawerchuk and Carlisle at 10:15. Smale then scores from Kite and Wilson at 15:34. Third period, Winnipeg gets the lead. Power play goal, Hawerchuk from Mullen and Steen at 1:09. And then at 14:33, Gilles Hamel scores from Steen and Carlisle The 14:33 mark to take the lead, or to add to the lead to make it 4-2. Then Calgary makes it close. It's Nieuwendyk from Wilson and Beresin at 17:16. It is 4-3 for Winnipeg. And they would hold on, and they assert themselves at home. Finally, a home team wins. Mike Vernon, 40 saves on 44 shots. Berthiaume saves 22 out of 25. So we go to Game 5 in Calgary. Calgary, of course, having lost Game 1 and Game 2 at home. They have to win Game 5. So they do. Starting with Kerry Wilson scoring from Mullen and Suter at 2 minutes. Then it's a power play goal by Olesen from Ellett and Neufeld to tie it up at 5:54. And then Brett Hull scores from Bullard at 15:13. So Brett Hull gets putting goals on the board. Second period, Nieuwendyk scores from Suter at 5:22 to make it 3-1. And then you cue the comeback for the Winnipeg Jets. First is Paul McLean on the power play from Hawerchuk and Carlisle at 6:47. Hawerchuk then scores from Marois at 10:48. In the third, it is Joe Mullen that gets the game winner from Otto and Kevin Guy at 4:38, or Otto Guy. Those are the assists, Joel Otto and Kevin Guy. Berthiaume, 27 saves on 31 shots, and Mike Vernon saves 25 out of 28 in the victory. So Game 6 in Winnipeg. And Winnipeg, this is a big victory for a Winnipeg Jets team that desperately needed it. And while the Winnipeg Jets, throughout their time as a National Hockey League team, pretty much from being hosed coming in from the WHA, where all their good players were poached by NHL teams, right up until they moved to Arizona, there was a struggle. There was a struggle with respectability. This was one of a few teams they had that had pretty respectable overall numbers. And in Game 6, they really asserted themselves. First, it's Wilson scoring from McBain and Ellett at 2:37. Hamel then scores from Boschman and Ellett at 13:17. It's then a power play marker for Hawerchuk from McLean and Mullen at 14:12. Doug Smale then scores from Steen and Ellett at 19:04. It's 4-0 Winnipeg after a period of hockey. Second period, Jim Poplinski scores from Otto and Lemela at 12:57. But on the power play would be Brian Mullen restoring the big lead for Winnipeg from Hawerchuk and Olesen at 19:02. In the third period, Doug Smale scores from Thomas Steen at 16:18. Makes it 6-1. And everybody can rejoice in Winnipeg. They went 2-1 at home. And on the road, they went 2-1 as well. They knock out the Flames in 6. So Vernon saved 7 out of 11. He's replaced by Reggie Lemela. 15 saves on 17 shots for Reggie. Berthiaume, 34 saves on 35 shots for the Winnipeg Jets. And Berthiaume's legend continues, at least till the second round where they get swept by Edmonton. But again, that's a fate that better teams than them would have had anyways. So Bullard leads the Flames in scoring with 4 goals and 3 assists. Nieuwendyk, 2 goals, 2 assists. Brett Hull only plays 4 games in this series. Had 2 goals and an assist in those 4 games. Joey Mullen, 2 goals and an assist. Hakan Lube, a goal and 2 assists. Suter, 3 assists. Vernon was 2-3 with an .882 save percentage. Lemela, 0-1 with an .872 save percentage on the Winnipeg side of things. Hawerchuk, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points in 6 games. Could he smell blood with the Flames? Absolutely he could, and he took over that series. Steen, 2 goals and 4 assists. Randy Carlisle, a goal and 5 assists. Paul McLean, 4 goals and an assist for the Jets. Ellett with 5 helpers. Brian Mullen, 2 goals and 2 assists. So he actually outscores Joe Mullen in this series. Berthiaume, 4-2 with a .913 save percentage. Not too shabby. Now, when you get into the penalty minutes, there were 362 penalty minutes in this series. There were some fights. And when you get to penalty minutes, Jim Poplinski had 24 for the Flames. Kevin Guy had 23. Tim Hunter had 51. And Neil Sheehy, 21. And it's interesting because a lot of these names end up becoming Canucks. Bozek stands out. Hunter stands out. Guy. I think Reinhardt's in here as well. There's Reinhardt. He'd end up being a Canuck. It was kind of a weird time where if they were with the Flames, they'd eventually come to Vancouver. Neil Sheehy, 21 penalty minutes, I should say, as well for Calgary. And then on the Winnipeg side, Jim Kite had 22 penalty minutes. Ray Neufeld had 30. Mario Marois had 17. And Randy Carlisle had 16. It was a hard-fought series, but the Winnipeg Jets came out with the victory. Now, one thing that I've had this debate recently in the comments, and I'm going to say it here as well. The Winnipeg Jets, they had a good run in 87. They had a good run in 85. Do I view them as a team that could have won a Stanley Cup? No. Were they a team that got hosed by being in the Smythe division both seasons? Yep. This was a team that probably would have come out of the Norris in 87. Could have come out of the Norris in 85, but you get the divisions you get. At some point in time in the near future, I'm going to look at playoff matchups, and you know, the unfairness that we talk about now has always been a part of the experience when it comes to NHL playoffs. So there you go. The Winnipeg Jets on this occasion overcame the Flames. Of course, the Flames were coming off of a Stanley Cup Finals appearance in 86, lost in the first round the year after that. And then, of course, in 89, they would win the Stanley Cup. So the Jets did pretty well accounting for themselves against a contending team. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.